We've talked a lot recently about how our eyes have been opened to new truths. And the songs this morning that we sang and the praise team and you joined with us, I won't go back to the way it used to be before your presence came and changed me. I'm awakened to dreaming with my eyes wide open, and I'm being resurrected. And we've been talking about how we were asleep and have been awakened, how once you have seen this truth, you can't unsee it. Have you ever looked at one of those drawings where if you look at the picture, you see a beautiful lady with a hat on, but you're told there is another way of looking at that picture where you will see not a beautiful lady, but a witch. And you search and you search and think, well, all I see is that pretty lady with that hat. Oh, it's so pretty. I don't see no one. Whoa! And then all of a sudden you see the witch. And you go, okay, how did I miss that? Right before your eyes, the lovely lady turns into this other grotesque person. And you think to yourself, how did I not see that before? In many ways, that represents the way I view the theology of my childhood. Where before I saw that I saw it as beautiful, now when I actually study it in light of my new experience based on relationship with Christ, I see the darkness and a more sinister portrait. And now I wonder, how did I not see that before? You know, that teaching about how God's keeping a book where your name is either in the book or not, and your name may be in there right now, but if you do something that makes God angry, He'll erase your name, and then you have to ask for penance, and He'll write it back in, and then you do something you don't like, and He erases that name again, and then you do repentance, and then He writes it back in. You know, I just thought He's wearing out His eraser on me. And it was really hard to be vulnerable to that kind of love. A God who loves you one minute and doesn't love you the next. The God who told the Israelites in the Old Testament to go and kill every man, woman, and child beast in that country. I mean, that was hard for me to comprehend. But then I was told, but we love this God. Oh, okay. I mean, I loved church as a child. I loved the stories in children's church. And when I looked at that theology, somehow I was able to see beauty in God. But now when I look through the lens of the religious teachings of my childhood, I have caught sight of that evil person instead of the beautiful person. But now when I look, I've caught sight. And that scary portrait that was there all along, I was taught to see the pretty lady. But the whole time, there was another way of looking at that picture. Many of us have been going through this spiritual deconstruction and reconstruction, and we now see that we are all born blessed and loved by our Creator who knows us and loves us with a love that nothing can separate us from, and that we are not separated from anyone. We are one with all peoples, of all nations, of all faiths, of all skin tones, and we have a love for even our enemies. We have experienced an awakening of the truth, and this truth truly does set us free. And this new awareness of God's love is casting out all our fears. But in so doing, we are breaking a lot of religious rules. I'm just wanting to let you know. In case you didn't know yet, we're coloring outside the Sunday school coloring book line. And many of our friends and family members think we have been deceived, and they can't understand why we don't want to come back and live in their houses of worship, that our houses that are houses of fear and judgmentalism and exclusion, where the world is viewed as a system of walls to keep people separated. Why we aren't envious of their exclusive club membership, while they even try to convince us to let them sponsor us since they are already members of that club. Like the Sunday school teacher who showed up at my house and assured me, Randy, we will take you back in if you'll just renounce your newfound freedoms and accept our yoke of bondage again. We'll take you back, Randy. No. You see, they think they can judge me, no longer a member of the family of God. They sold me on the lie that they and God had the power to banish me to the outskirts, to the forbidden zone, where if you find yourself there, you will be separated from God. But even after crossing over into that forbidden zone, I still sensed God was with me, loving me, in me, around me. And so I saw the phoniness of the church's concept of dividing walls that separate people from God. God was where they told me God could not be, in the heart and the life of this gay man. When I realized the church had been wrong about me, I began to think, who else have they assigned to that forbidden zone that were not truly separated from God? Then it hit me. There is no one that can be separated from God. There is no one who can separate themselves from the love of God and the acceptance of God and the embrace of God. I said a few Sundays ago that this church, this little purple room, was birthed out of desperation. There was no place that Gary and I could attend church and be accepted as a married couple. We would have to deny who we are. We'd have to deny that we were in love with each other and committed for life to each other in a Christ-centered, faithful marriage. We went for 6 months without a faith community. And we were hungry for that experience that we're experiencing this morning, that experience when hearts join together in worship. You see, I think for spiritual deconstruction and reconstruction to take place, we must become desperate. We must become poor in spirit. We must become unsatisfied with what we have always thought was the truth. We must become uncomfortable with our inherited faith. You see, one thing I was always taught was not to question the teachings of my church.